That morning, Nancy's father's request took her by surprise. "I need to have a serious talk with you. My health is not what it used to be, and it's getting harder to do business," began Rupert Johnson. Nancy looked at her father lovingly and touched his hand reassuringly. "I think it's time for you to take over the company. I'm sure that the years of study at Harvard Business School were not in vain," the aging businessman added. Upon hearing her father's words, Nancy happily jumped at the idea. She herself had already understood that the sooner she became involved in the family business, the better it would be for the family. Nancy knew that it was hard for her father after the death of her mother. His health was declining. When Rupert offered his daughter to head the company, he knew that she would say yes. "You see, I've been so sick recently that I do not have time to deal with important personnel issues. First of all, we are in critical need of a new deputy director. Michael Brown came highly recommended. He has a great reputation, a Yale graduate with solid work experience. Can you take a closer look at him?" asked the businessman. Nancy looked into her father's tired eyes and hurried to convince him that she would do everything right. To begin with, she began to collect all available information on the prospective deputy director. Of course, in the digital age, it was not a difficult task. Nancy did not find anything bad about the candidate. Michael Brown's reputation was impeccable. His references from previous jobs were extremely positive. So why does such a first-class specialist want to work for a company in trouble? He could get hired almost anywhere, Nancy thought skeptically. All this was very strange, and in order to understand what was going on, it was necessary to take a closer look at Michael. Nancy made a plan to accomplish this task. At first, she decided to have a phone call with Michael. Nancy deliberately declined a face-to-face meeting in order to ensure that Michael was comfortable in a familiar place. Let him think that the company is in his hands. Let's see what he'll do, thought Nancy. She chose to spice up the situation even though it wasn't totally necessary. Michael Brown immediately took the reins of power into his own hands. He took over the company the next day. The man was very intelligent and demonstrated a strong desire to change the company for the better. At the same time, a new employee named Amanda joined the company. Relying on a good recommendation from Nancy Johnson, Amanda quickly became a member of the team. Of course, deep down, Michael was unhappy that someone got a job in a manner that bypassed him. But on the other hand, he could not go against the decisions of the company's owner's daughter. Moreover, the new deputy had absolutely no complaints about Amanda's work. The young woman worked tirelessly and often stayed in the office longer than everyone else. "I don't think you should devote so much time to work," Michael remarked one day. He liked to be the last one to leave the office. "Yes, of course. I'll finish this report and head home," Amanda answered. Michael smiled and shook his head. She's probably some careerist who wants to curry favor and get a good position in the company, the man thought, straightening his tie. But his suspicions were not confirmed. Amanda did not seek a raise. She simply worked hard and delved into all the intricacies of her profession. She became friends with Jacob, whose desk was next to hers. Jacob, like Amanda, devoted himself entirely to work and was known to be a great worker. For some inexplicable reason, Michael Brown disliked him from the very beginning. The deputy director constantly belittled Michael and ignored his ideas. Amanda, on the other hand, thought that Jacob's ideas and suggestions were interesting and made sense. "Why is Mr. Brown annoyed with you so often?" The young woman broached the subject carefully. "I found an error in his calculations. It cost the company several millions. I don't understand how it is possible to have studied at Yale University and make such a shameful mistake," Jacob answered without hiding his resentment. Jacob's words made Amanda very anxious. He's right, such a high-ranking manager cannot be walking around making such mistakes, especially if it causes irreplaceable damage to the company, thought Amanda. Meanwhile, Michael Brown continued to act like nothing was wrong. As it turned out, in addition to working, he loved flirting with employees and spending evenings in the company of beautiful women. At some point, he took an interest in Amanda. She was beautiful and had no shortage of suitors. "How would you like to have dinner with me at the restaurant? I think you could really use a glass of red wine at the end of a long workday," Michael suggested, acting casually. Amanda looked away from important work papers and looked at the manager in surprise. "I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. Today is not a good day, and I don't think it's a good idea in general," the young woman answered politely. Of course, the refusal upset Michael, which was evident from his facial expression. Holding a grudge, he began to treat Amanda with cold indifference that bordered on outright contempt. The young woman felt it, but did not know what to do. As the company's deputy director, Michael had virtually unlimited power at the time. That wasn't the only thing that the detail-oriented young woman found disturbing. The company's revenue stayed low, which indicated that it was losing money. Jacob noticed this as well and had spoken to Michael about it on numerous occasions. But instead of trying to determine the cause of the losses, the deputy director preferred to pretend that nothing was wrong. This went on for several weeks. Then Amanda overheard a very strange conversation. The young woman heard it by sheer accident. A different set of circumstances would prevent her from hearing it at all. At the end of the day, when Amanda walked past Michael's office, she heard a snippet of a conversation. "I can't take that kind of risk anymore. Do you understand? I need to be more careful. Everyone around me is looking for the mole. Only I'm pretending that nothing is happening." Michael got visibly angrier and slammed his hand on the table. This was followed by a tirade claiming that he could not continue making terrible deals to the detriment of the company. At the end of the conversation, Michael agreed to make another deal that would completely ruin Rupert Johnson's company. Hearing this, Amanda turned pale. She knew that the signing of the contract was scheduled for the following day. She had very little time remaining to make the right decision. Without a moment's hesitation, Amanda took out her phone and made one extremely important phone call. The following day, in anticipation of signing the deliberately unfavorable contract, the deputy director was in a good mood. He was friendly with his employees and made a lot of jokes. But when the secretary informed Michael that the daughter of the company's owner will join him for the signing of the contract, his face changed instantly. Why is the spoiled rich brat coming now? Maybe she's suspecting something, the businessman wondered. Soon, representatives of the partner company arrived at the office, and the deputy director had no time to think. To Michael's dismay, Nancy Johnson was running late for some reason and asked him not to sign the contract without her. The company's employees were surprised when Nancy Johnson did not show up at the appointed time. Instead, Amanda entered the office and, with an air of importance and confidence, announced that the negotiations were canceled. "What? Who are you to make such decisions? What are you even doing here?" Michael Brown fumed. Everyone present became visibly tense. Only Amanda behaved confidently and naturally. "You're fired, Michael. I am Nancy Johnson. After all, you've never seen me in person since we only talked on the phone. That's why I decided to take the opportunity to go undercover in my own company. I know that you work for our competitors and deliberately made horrible deals. Yesterday I called my dad and your letter of dismissal has already been signed," Nancy announced in an authoritative tone of voice. Only at that point did Michael realize that he had fallen into a well-placed trap. Under the guise of Amanda, Nancy outwitted him and left him in the cold. Lowering his head, the man left the conference room along with representatives of the front company. After that, Nancy publicly announced to the staff that Jacob White would be appointed the new deputy director. He was chosen because of his intelligence and perseverance. Nancy came to appreciate Jacob's professionalism and devotion, so she decided to repay him in kind. On top of that, Jacob and Nancy became a couple. This, however, did not make them lose sight of reality, and they continued working for the benefit of the company. About 6 months later, the young couple got married. This act forever weaved their lives together.